my first boss, and how he got the whole team every certification available. When I turned 14 years old, I got my first summer job and had one of the best bosses I'd ever had. I recently found out that unfortunately my mentor and someone I would consider a friend, John, passed away. Although it's been well over 20 years, I still use the lessons learned and the work ethic he passed on to me. Although at times he could be hard, he was more than fair and always did the right thing for those that worked for him. This is the story of John versus the new president. Before I get into the story, I need to give some background and context on John. John was the textbook, all-American boy. John had attended a prestigious boarding school somewhere in New England and eventually attended Yale back in the late 50s and was not only a scholar but a three-sport athlete. He played football, he boxed, and was a captain on the track and field team. Fast forward to when this story takes place and John was still in phenomenal shape for a late 60s, early 70s man. John opted to move out to the country, start a family to follow his passion, which was teaching at the local high school and coaching high schoolers in various sports. Obviously, he was the high school football coach, taught track and field. He was an outstanding shot-put athlete and could run the mile and many other long distances. As a teacher, he had the summers off and became a lifeguard at the local town beach, eventually becoming the captain of the lifeguards. Over time, he developed standards for the town, county, state lifeguards to pass. He really transformed what was a ragtag style of lifeguards into a full-fledged official lifeguard corps training academy and set the standards for what is still used today. John was eventually hired to run the lifeguards and manage an entire private beach club instead of working for the town beach. One of the biggest challenges of this, since it was a private beach club, John now reported into a president of the beach club who oversaw how things were run. I started working for John as a helper on the beach and then eventually a lifeguard, and for the first couple of summers things were great. The president of the beach club took pride in having the best staff and making sure that lifeguards were well paid, and to his credit, safety was the utmost priority. This private beach club certainly catered to the more wealthy clientele who wanted a nicer club instead of going to the public beach. Some of the advantages were the amenities, which were lockers, cabanas, private parking, a very nice restaurant that served great food and drinks. This was one of the few beach clubs that also had the ability to serve alcoholic beverages. One of the good things John had instituted was that any returning member of the staff from the previous summers automatically got a raise. This ensured that staff returned the next summer, avoiding a lot of retraining and, as you can imagine, growing pains with a new staff. What was even better was that if you returned multiple summers, you still got an additional raise. Most summers this was $1 or $2. As an example, I started at $7.25 at 14 years old. This was back in the late 90s. And by the time I was in college, I was making almost $15 an hour. Typically, the president of the club serves a term which is a few years, and when his term was up, a new president was ushered in. Upon taking office, the new president loudly proclaimed that he wanted to ensure that the club had fiscal responsibility, and he would be personally going over the books with a fine-tooth comb. His first order of business was to cut everyone's pay all the way back to minimum wage and fire most of the lifeguards. Now, as noted above, the staff was there for a long time, knowing most the members and how to run the place. Prior to the start of the summer, upon learning that their hourly wage would be cut, most of the senior staff immediately left and were quickly hired elsewhere. The lifeguards were spared at the appeal of John to ensure safety. Although some senior guards left for other beaches and pools, John was able to convince the lifeguards as he would take care of things. Onto the MC. While John agreed to have the staff take the pay cut, he convinced the new president that any lifeguards with additional certifications would get $2 an hour on top of the base minimum wage. The new president obviously didn't consider that any of these lifeguards would put in the effort or if it was feasible to get any certifications in time for the summer season, and he agreed to the plan. As you can imagine, John basically established the process and curriculum for becoming a lifeguard and personally trained and hired most if not all the trainers in the town and county. John was also a volunteer fireman and knew all the EMS personnel, and not surprisingly had either taught them in school or hired them as lifeguards in their past lives. John quickly called in favors from every trainer and certifier across the county who were more than happy to repay all the favors John had done for them in the past. Most waived the training fees and expedited the training sessions for the lifeguards, and they wanted to promote safety for the community. Prior to the start of the Memorial Day weekend and what is effectively the unofficial start of summer, all of us lifeguards and new staff become certified in pretty much every single possible certification that existed at the time. I mean, I'm talking crazy complete overkill and unnecessary certifications for a regular lifeguard. We got trained as either EMS and EMTs. Although lifeguards had to be certified in CPR, we retrained and got our CPR certifications again. Life-saving ocean and pool rescue techniques. Certified swimming instructor. Certified food inspector. The club had a kitchen. Certified county pool operator license. Certified sanitary inspector. Cleaning the bathrooms. We even had one guy who wanted to learn how to scuba. The county's firefighters had a water rescue team who coincidentally were certified scuba instructors. Most of us guards become certified divers. Open water divers. Deep water rescue divers, the whole works. I could go on and on about all the certifications we got. The lifeguards not only went back to their original wage, but in most cases went well above what their previous wages were. At 18 years old and back in the 90s, I personally went from making $15 an hour to $27 an hour, all due to the certifications and trainings. It took a month or so for the fallout to happen. While the new president tried to renege on the deal, John was smart enough to have a formal arrangement in place, and there was nothing the new president could do besides bitch about it. He winded up resigning his position to spend more time with his family at the beach. We rarely saw him around that summer, and I think he eventually stopped coming altogether, opting to join another club. John made nice with the new president and explained his philosophy on training and keeping staff. The new president agreed, and some of the senior staff winded up coming back with the promise of their original wage. A few weeks ago, I heard from friends and former colleagues that just at the start of the summer season John passed away in sleep of natural causes at the ripe age of 91. He was still working, although not as much in the past. It was more of a I wanna keep busy type of thing than a need to work. Every morning he would take out the lifeguard's rowboat and get some exercise in. After all, he was a certified rowing instructor. Rip John. You were the best. The world needs more folk like John. Rest easy now, John, you were clearly a good one. President. So John, I hear you have a lot of certifications. Which ones? John. Yes. I am so envious that you got to know such a person. Class act. All too rare in real life. King of protective managers. Sorry for your loss. Wow, great story. Worth the read. He was still working, although not as much in the past. It was more of a I wanna keep busy type of thing than a need to work. It's hard to hit a moving target. Rip John. What an amazing story and a fantastic boss in person. Thank you for sharing. A true relic of the past. What I would give for a boss like that now at 40, let alone college age. This is like an anime plot. The hero falls on tough times. But all the friends he's made along the way lend him their power, and together they beat the villain. What a great memory. Thanks for sharing John with us. May his memory always be a blessing. 1. Excellent story. You were lucky to meet such a person. Point 2. Very well written. You obviously are good at telling stories. 3. Chesterton's fence got taken down. And the consequences of the consequence. It was really expensive to build back up. 1 quibble. What does all-American mean? I know 0 people who went to boarding school in Yale, and I hang around a whole bunch of PhDs in the STEM fields. I understand it from a sport context. But not growing up with privilege. At least John used that privilege for good. This is the way. What a beautiful story of both an amazing man and malicious compliance. Purple heart. Why am I crying? This is beautiful. This is fantastic. Thanks for sharing. Fantastic story. John was a great person. Shit. That's awesome. And with all those certifications, all of you got huge bonuses towards year-round employment in all those different fields. I am sorry for your loss. And thank you for sharing this man's great take on life. Truthfully inspiring. Best regards. Dude. John was amazing. He sounds like one of the most noble people that ever existed. May he never be forgotten.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.